Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Jake sat quietly at the edge of their bed, observing a scene that had become familiar over the years. His wife, Barbara, getting ready for a night out. This particular evening, however, felt different from all the rest. Though he still found joy in watching her, a profound sadness seemed to cloud that joy, pressing heavily on his heart. How is it possible, he thought, that she looks even more stunning tonight than she has in all the years I've known her? Barbara was about to turn 50, and they had a special evening planned just for the two of them, a private celebration ahead of tomorrow's big birthday party with their children and grandchildren. As she sat at her vanity, Jake let his gaze linger on her, admiring the beauty that had remained untouched by the years. Her hair still framed her face perfectly. Her body was as graceful as ever, a testament to the effort she had put in to stay fit. And that smile, that teasing glint in her eye. He couldn't help but smile, thinking about how she always playfully flaunted herself. Pride swelled within him, pride in the woman he loved for 3 decades, but it was quickly overtaken by the weight of his sadness. Jake was a man who took pride in his logical, problem-solving nature. He was the one colleagues turned to when something at work needed careful analysis, knowing he'd deliver a well-thought-out solution, even if it took time. But here, in this moment, that same logic was of no comfort. He found himself sitting on the bed, feeling lost, his mind filled with questions. Is this really the last time I'll get to watch her like this? I love her more than anything. Why does it feel like I'm losing her? What went wrong? How did I not see it coming? His thoughts tumbled over each other, circling around in an endless loop like ripples across a still pond. He realized that tonight could mark a turning point, perhaps the most significant one in his life. A decision lay ahead, one that could mean a new beginning or the unraveling of everything he held dear. He had been preparing for this conversation for weeks, agonizing over how they had arrived at this fragile point in their relationship. The more he thought about it, the more he recognized that perhaps they weren't the perfect couple everyone believed them to be. He went over the clues in his mind, trying to make sense of it all. When did it start? Months ago, it seemed. She had begun pulling away, becoming more distant and preoccupied. He now realized that their intimacy had gradually faded until it had all but disappeared. Then there were her outbursts, sharp and unwarranted anger over trivial things. But what bothered him most were the lies. He recalled a specific moment, a dinner charge for 2 at a restaurant where he hadn't been with her. That night, it was clear something had shifted between them, and he wasn't the only person on her mind. Over the past couple of weeks, though, everything had changed again, almost as abruptly as before. Now Barbara seemed attentive, eager even. She was suddenly affectionate, wanting to be close to him, to rekindle the love they had once shared. It should have made him happy, but instead, it left him bewildered. Why now, he wondered. What changed? He couldn't make sense of the shifts in her behavior. Each transformation felt like a departure from the woman he had married and loved for so long. Where had she gone? The kind, loving woman he once knew? Would he ever find her again? This new version of her felt foreign, and he didn't like what he saw. Shaking himself from his thoughts, Jake knew it was time to speak. "Barbara," he began, his voice soft but steady. "I just want you to know how much I love you. Watching you tonight, you're as beautiful as ever. I've loved you all these years, and I always will." Barbara paused, her reflection meeting his in the mirror. A curious expression crossed her face. "Thank you, Jake," she replied gently. "I'm not sure what made you say that, but I want you to know I love you too." She studied him for a moment longer, sensing the weight of something unspoken in the air. What's been troubling him so much lately? She wondered, her concern mirroring his unspoken fears. No matter how much effort she put into fixing their relationship, it felt like the more she tried, the more distant and detached he became. With an internal sigh, she reminded herself, I just have to keep trying. I'm not giving up on this. I love him so much, and I need him to love me the way I love him." Quietly, Jake murmured, "I wonder if you love me the way I love you." Her ears perked up. "What did you just say, Jake? You've been mumbling a lot lately. I need you to speak clearly." Meeting her gaze, he repeated himself, "I wonder if you love me as much as I love you." In any other situation, the expression on her face might have been amusing. His words hit her like a punch, and her mouth fell open. "Why would you say that?" she asked, her voice laced with hurt. "How could you even think that, let alone say it out loud? Are you just trying to be clever, or do you realize how painful those words are?" Jake, keeping his composure, replied, "We need to have a serious talk." "We've got a little time before we go out," he continued. "I need to say some things and ask you some questions. I'm not asking for answers right now, but by the end of tonight, I will need them." Barbara nodded, feeling a sense of dread rise up. "Of course, ask me anything. I have nothing to hide from you. You're my husband, my partner." Jake almost couldn't help but smirk at her words. Tension rippled through his body, like a tightly pulled cord ready to snap. "Barbara, listen carefully. There are some things I need to say, and I don't want responses just yet. I want you to think about them tonight. Your honest answers are crucial for the future of our marriage." Oh God, this is it. He wants a divorce, she thought, panic settling in. But as he'd asked, she stayed quiet, suppressing the urge to speak. Jake, steady and deliberate, laid out his concerns, systematically walking her through everything that had been bothering him. "First off, you've practically shut me out of your life for months. Then, out of nowhere these last couple of weeks, you've been bending over backwards to please me, like you're trying to cater to my every need, even in bed. It's like I'm living with two different people. One minute, you're distant and unpredictable, and the next, you're trying to be my servant. For months, I felt like I was walking on eggshells, not knowing when your temper might explode. And then, there's the lies, over and over again, about where you've been and who you were with. The last straw was finding that receipt for dinner for two, and I know for a fact I wasn't the other person at that table. So here we are." Jake's eyes locked onto hers. "I think you've been cheating. I think the affair ended recently, and now you're trying to slip back into our life like nothing happened. So here's what I need to know. Do you want a divorce? Do you love him? How many times and with how many people have you cheated?" He paused, giving her a moment before delivering the final blow. "Do you still want to stay married? And if you do, will there be more affairs? What reason can you give me to convince me that staying married to you is worth it?" Barbara was silent, staring at him, completely frozen. Jake, noticing her composure, or what he thought was composure, was actually witnessing her utter shock and speechlessness. He stood up, his voice firm. "Finish packing. I'll be waiting downstairs. We're going to be late if you don't hurry." Somehow, she managed to gather herself and finish getting ready, meeting Jake downstairs. The evening stretched on, and despite the heavy conversation that loomed over them, Jake reminded her that he didn't want to discuss any of his accusations during dinner. To her surprise, she found she could almost enjoy the time spent together, though the extra wine helped. By the time they returned home, Barbara was drained. Exhausted from the emotional weight of the night and a little too tipsy from the alcohol, she knew she wasn't in the right state to continue the conversation. Complaining of a headache, she excused herself and quickly changed into her nightgown. Crawling into her side of the bed, she fell asleep almost immediately, escaping from the painful reality she would eventually have to face. Jake, seeing how exhausted she was, decided it was best to delay their discussion. Not wasting any time, he climbed into bed himself, deciding tomorrow would be a better day for answers. Once again, he'd had too much to drink the previous night and fell into a deep, undisturbed sleep. By the time morning came, Jake was the first to rise. After a quick shower, he headed to the kitchen to start preparing breakfast. The first thing he did was set the coffee to brew, as he knew Barbara would soon join him, just as she often did. She was never one to linger in bed for long. Jake was already seated at the table when she finally entered the kitchen. "Can I get you some coffee?" he asked. Maybe you'd like some toast or something light? I'll take some coffee, Jake, she replied. But I'll pass on the food. My stomach's not ready for it yet. After last night, with everything that happened and all the drinks, I think I'll just stick to coffee. Barbara, Jake said, his voice calm but firm. Last night I laid everything out. I told you exactly what I needed to say, and now it's your turn. This morning, you get the floor, so give it your best shot, and let's see where we stand. I've been thinking about what you said, Jake, she began, her voice soft but steady. I heard you when you told me how important honesty is. I've thought about it a lot. I need you to understand that you're the only man I've ever loved, and I haven't been with anyone else since the day we got married. I'll try to respond to everything in the order you brought it up. She took a deep breath before continuing. No, I've never wanted a divorce. There's no one else, no lover hiding in the background. So, no, I don't have anyone else to confess to you about. I've never cheated on you. I've always been faithful since the day we said our vows, and I don't want that to change. I want to stay married to you more than anything, and I will stay loyal to you for as long as we both live. That credit card charge? It was just a business dinner. Either you forgot about it or I forgot to mention it. Whichever it wasn't anything more than that. And the reason I want to keep you by my side is because I love you. I love only you with everything I have, my heart, my body, my soul. She hesitated for a moment, then continued. It's my fault too, for being distant. But you've also been distant. We both went through a rough patch in this marriage, and I don't think either of us fully realized it. But recently, I've started to remember why I love you so much. For the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to show you how much I care. I wanted to rekindle the love we almost lost. Jake looked at her, meeting her eyes with intensity. Barbara held his gaze, her expression calm, unwavering. Jake, you have to believe me. I love you and only you. Jake continued staring at her, his face unreadable at first. But then, slowly, his expression began to change. Sadness crept over him, deepening with each second, until it looked as though he might break down. Jake, what's wrong? Are you feeling okay? Barbara's concern grew with his silence. Do you need me to call someone? Maybe 911? Finally, Jake spoke, his voice low and monotone. Barbara, I love you. I've always loved you. But I was hoping we could finally be honest with each other. I guess you can't, or won't, be truthful with me. I gave you every opportunity to do so because I genuinely wanted to make this marriage work. His voice grew stronger, laced with anger. I did everything I could to save us, but I know you didn't. You didn't hold up your end. He reached into his lap, pulling out a large manila envelope, and slid it across the table to her. I still love you, Barbara, but love isn't enough anymore. I don't want to be your husband any longer. I filed for divorce. You need to find a lawyer and have them contact mine. His voice hardened further. I don't want to see you or speak to you anymore. I'm going to pack my things now and I'll be leaving soon. I suppose I should say I'm sorry, but I don't think you're sorry, so I don't feel the need to apologize. You've made your choices, and now you'll have to live with them. Jake stood up slowly and made his way upstairs to gather his clothes and toiletries. He had already booked a hotel room and, on his lawyer's advice, had taken care of all the financial arrangements to begin living separately from Barbara. Barbara sat frozen in place, stunned by what had just transpired. She didn't fully comprehend what was happening as Jake continued packing his things. He finished without saying another word, and when he finally left, she remained at the kitchen table, unmoving, for almost an hour. At last, she mustered the courage to drag the ominous envelope closer. With trembling hands, she opened it, revealing the documents that spelled out the end of her life with Jake. Why didn't he trust me? She thought, her mind swirling with unanswered questions. Why did he believe all those terrible things about me? She was certain they could fix things, but Jake had already shut the door on any chance of reconciliation. Barbara's gaze lingered on the papers, her eyes glazing over without absorbing the words. Something else caught her attention inside the envelope. It seemed to be a photograph. Her fingers hesitated before retrieving it. When she saw it, her heart stopped. The image showed her unmistakably on all fours in her own bed with another man, and that man was not Jake. A gasp escaped her throat before she could stop it. Suddenly, it all made sense. Jake knew. She had believed her deception about the affair with Richard was foolproof, that Jake would never catch on. After ending the affair, she had genuinely tried to fix what she had broken in her marriage. But looking at the photo, she realized with crushing clarity that the only way to truly save her relationship would have been to confront the truth from the beginning. Yet, given the betrayal she had committed, honesty and integrity had been far from her strengths. The hardest truth of all was that Jake was gone, and he wasn't coming back. She knew he was a man of his word, and divorce was the only option he would accept. Deep down, she had lost the one person she had ever really loved. The irony was sharp. All the passion, all the exhilarating moments of her affair paled in comparison to the time she had shared with Jake. The vows they had taken, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, now twisted painfully in her chest, piercing her with the realization of what she had thrown away. This agony couldn't match what Jake must have endured, but it was the deepest pain she had ever felt. She knew now, without a doubt, that she was a betrayer. She had not only betrayed her husband, but their children, their entire family. That label, cheater, would now cling to her for the rest of her life. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.